I want to throw one by you. 2 years ago, Mel Tucker and the Michigan State Spartans, led by Kenneth Walker, they go to the Peach Bowl. They win the Peach Bowl. They beat Pittsburgh, and Mel Tucker gets himself a healthy payday.
Yes.
Last year, they go 5-7, and this year, after spring, they see Keon Coleman go to Florida State, their top returning wide receiver. They see their starting quarterback, Peyton Thorne, leave to go to Auburn. In addition to the fact that Jaden Reed is now a Green Bay Packers second-round pick, win total you can find as high as 5.5 on the Michigan State Spartans, heavily juiced to the under. You have Washington coming to East Lansing week 3, a preseason top 15 team. You've got a crossover game on the road at Iowa, on the road at Minnesota. Those are 2 of your crossover games with the West Division. You've got Nebraska. Oh, by the way, you've got Ohio State, Penn State, Maryland, who I think will be their win total sitting at 7. It all comes down to this, Wes. Is Michigan State going to get bowl eligible? If they do not, then you go ahead and bet that under at minus 165 or so. I would look that way because I think that Washington game is going to be a bear of a game. That number, I think, is double digits already for the Huskies. How do you break down the Spartans?
Yeah, I would certainly lean to the under there at 5.5. You got to play some heavy juice about minus 160, 65 there. But if you look at Michigan State last year, they not only really fell off. Like sometimes you have like a little blip on the radar, right? Yep. You have injuries, and certainly that played a part defensively. But they were 5-7 last year, and they had 6 of those losses by double digits. And then the 7th loss, by the way, was to Indiana. That was rock bottom for them. They missed a 22-yard field goal that would have won at the end of regulation, and then that cost them a bowl bid. They lost to a bad Indiana team in overtime last year. I think the recruiting is improving a little bit in the high schools, but Tucker and his guys are still a little bit reliant on the transfer portal. And the transfer portal giveth and also taketh away, as you mentioned, with Keon Coleman and Peyton Thorne. So it looks like either Noah Kim or Caton Hauser are going to take that quarterback job. They do return some depth at running back with Jalen Berger, the former Wisconsin transfer. Also, Nathan Carter comes in from Connecticut. Jaron Mangum from South Florida. Couple returning targets. Malik Carr has real potential at tight end. Defensively, they were ravaged by injuries, and then they had 8 defensive players suspended for the final 4 games of the season. So they had 27 different players earn starts in 2022, and that's why they were 101st nationally in total defense. The 2 linebackers, Jacoby Windman and Cal Halliday, are actually very, very good players. They also add Tamise Adelaide out of Texas A&M, but the secondary is still a question mark, and it has been subpar since Mel Tucker got there. So you wonder if it's a blip on the radar screen. I don't have a lot of positivity for the Spartans this year. I'm not necessarily just selling them completely long-term because they are recruiting better, but they have really had to hit the portal hard. And I think when you do that a little bit too much, that tends to bite you on the backside, at least long term. Also, the fact that they only have 3 true home games in conference play.
Yep.
Because the game against Penn State, that the Land Grant Trophy, I believe, is the name of that game. That's at Ford Field in Detroit. So, yeah, you think, Sparty will have the advantage, but Penn State travels very well, so it'll probably be even.
Black Friday, too, so it's a short week.
Yeah, it'll be even from a fan standpoint, I think, up there in Detroit. So I think this team is going to struggle to get bowl eligible. Should win the first 2. They get Washington coming in. I know it's a revenge spot, but I think Washington's a top 10 team. They're a dark horse to make the college football playoff, in my opinion. Then you have that Maryland team. I lean a little bit over. Talia Tagovailoa is back.
Yep.
Greatest quarterback in terms of stats in Maryland history. And they always have a lot of talent at receiver. Mike Locksley does bring in Josh Gaddis also as the offensive coordinator. They work together at Alabama.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.